Okay, today's concept is Hibernate. It is very important technology which is used to interact with any database. Till now we have used JDBC concept to interact with the database. Everybody, all of you know that, okay? So by using JDBC, I can interact with the database. But even though we have the JDBC concept, why I'm going to learn, or we are going to learn Hibernate? What are the those main advantages of Hibernate? Simply, Hibernate is a framework which is used to interact with any database, first point. And second important point is it is open source. No need to buy this framework. We can freely download from the particular website. I'll tell you. Hibernate website is there. From that we can download this Hibernate framework. So first one, it is a framework. What is the use of this framework? Used to interact with database. And it is open source framework. See this open source persistent framework. Why it is called as persistent framework? Do you ever heard about this persistent word? Anybody of you? At the time of learning IO streams concept, we have discussed about a concept called persistent object. What is that persistent object? Persistent object is an object which can be stored permanently. If you store an object in a file, that is called as persistent object. If you store an object in a database, that object is called as persistent object. What is the meaning of persistent here? Simple, permanent storage. So we are talking about storing, permanent storage. If you heard a word called persistent, which means we are talking about permanent storage. Okay, so it is a framework, we know that, and it is a persistent framework. So which means this framework is used to persist the data, store the data, update the data, delete the data. Okay, that type of framework. That's what the persistent word talks about. Okay, so what do you understand now? Hibernate is a framework which is used to interact with any database, and it is a open source framework. See the third point. This Hibernate framework is also called as ORM tool. What is this ORM? Object Relational Mapping tool. I'll tell you clearly about this ORM tool little bit later. Okay. Before that, before I'm going to tell you about what is ORM tool is, why Hibernate is called as ORM tool. I want to tell you what is the main difference between Hibernate and JDBC. If we use Hibernate in our programs, in which manner we can interact with database? What are the advantages? If we use the JDBC in our program, in which manner we write the programs actually? Which one is best? We'll discuss about it, about this one, okay? See the next image. What is the difference between JDBC and Hibernate? All of you, many of you guys, I know that you are developing applications. Bhargav, Suvarchala, Dedipya, Priyanka, Manikishore, all these people are developing applications. Okay, for all of them, I have a question. If you are using JDBC to interact with database, tell me Bhargav and Mani, which concept you are using to interact with database? JDBC.
JDBC, database interaction with
Why you are
JDBC.
taking that much time? Okay, sorry. So to interact with database, you may use the concept called JDBC. That's it. Okay, okay. You can mute your voice. Thank you. So that's what I would like to explain here. Let us say we have a Java program. We are writing a Java program to interact with database. Okay. Say this is database, and let us say this yellow color box is a Java program. Simply tell me what you are going to write in the Java program. We know the steps of writing a JDBC program, isn't it? First, we need to load the driver. That driver must be registered with the driver manager. Then we can establish the connection. And after that, to interact with the database, to send the commands to the database, we need to create statement object. That way we'll create statement objects. By using that statement object, we know that a statement object contains execute query, execute update, execute batch, like the different methods that statement object contains. By using those methods, I can send the commands to the database. So loading driver, registering the driver with the driver manager, establishing connections, creating statement objects, and sending SQL commands to the database, and getting the results, and closing the connections. All these steps are done by the programmer. Is it correct or not? Is all these things are automatic? No, you are writing the code. All these are done by the programmer itself. Sir, okay, I don't think it is hard. Why you are telling about this JDBC as a what do you call a concept which is outdated? Like, why are you telling like that? Yes, JDBC is not outdated, but this JDBC I can use in better way in Hibernate. If you use JDBC concept directly in our program, we'll have these drawbacks. See this? The right side, at the bottom, you may see the drawbacks heading. Okay, there you can see the first point, that is SQL queries in Java. If you write JDBC program, you need to take care of loading driver, registering driver, creating statement objects, connection objects, getting result set objects, and closing connections. Everything you have to take care of. Even first drawback is SQL queries in Java. That is main drawback. For example, you don't know about SQL. You never learn SQL, but you need to interact with database by using JDBC. Is it possible? Without knowing select command, without knowing create command, without knowing update, delete, or etc. commands, can you interact with database by using JDBC? Is it possible? No. That means along with Java, you have to learn SQL also if we use JDBC in our programs to interact with database. Second drawback, not suitable for other databases sometimes. What is that point? For example, Bhavita, you have written a Java program. That Java program interacts with the MySQL database. Okay.
Okay.
So let us say we have MySQL application, database, MySQL, not Oracle. Okay, MySQL database. You have written a JDBC program. In that JDBC program, you have written the code for loading the driver and establishing the connections, creating the statement object, and you have written a create table command. I have given
Okay, sir.
a task called create table. Your Java program has to create a table in the database. Simple. Create the statement object. Statement object dot execute or execute
Execute.
update method. Okay, you need to call that
Yeah.
method. To that method,
Mm.
send the create table command. That is SQL command.
Yes, sir.
And also you have taken like create table emp.
Mm.
Let us say you have taken the command like this. Create table emp eno int primary key, sorry, auto increment and ename varchar of, there is no varchar 2 in MySQL, varchar of 20. Like this, you have created a command, and this command you send to the execute or execute update method of statement object. Tell me what happens. That SQL command will send to the database. In the database, in the MySQL database, table will be created with a name emp. It contains two columns. First column is envo and second column is ename. If you insert the data into this table, what is the advantage of auto increment? In the envo column, you need not install any value, store any value, insert any value.
Yeah.
Automatically, one by one, it will be incremented. For example, if you insert the first row, automatically envo will be 1 and name is your wish. Okay. So this is the auto increment column. So you have written the code. It is successfully executed. Very good. I am now asking you, after completion of this execution, you said, sir, I have completed my task. One table is created. My Java program is able to create a table in MySQL database. These are the columns, envo, ename. Envo is auto increment column. That's it. You have written already code that you say. Then I told you that, Bhavita, can you please change the database? Execute the same, create the table in Oracle database. That's what I have asked again in second time. What you will do? Sir, can I use the same program to interact with another database? Then you need to load the different driver.
Different driver.
You need to,
Query.
the driver must be different. And you need to establish the connection. And there you need to give the different URL, usernames and passwords.
Yes.
That's all one thing. And another one. This SQL command is not going to run in Oracle.
Yeah. Different as well.
Actually, SQL is a language which can be used to interact with any database.
Yeah.
The main purpose of SQL is that one. But even though that is the standard language to interact with any database, some little bit, very small differences are there from one database to another database. For example, auto increment is not existed in the Oracle. You can't use the auto increment keyword in Oracle. Until 11G, there is no auto increment. After that, I don't know actually. I didn't read it. Can you connect this? Can you use the same command to interact with Oracle? No, not possible. That means if you write a JDBC program to interact with one database, that may or may not be worked for another database. This is also another drawback. Is it correct or not? Yes. So drawbacks. First drawback is you have to know SQL. Second drawback is you don't know whether that SQL is going to run in any database or not. Third disadvantage. Explicit database connection closings may lead to memory leakages. Almost all of you developed the applications also, web applications. I think most of you developed. Okay. Have you closing the database connections? Where you are closing the connections?
Sir, in
final block we are closing. So I'm asking our employees. All those are actually employees. They are working in my company actually. Suachala, Dedipya, Priyanka, Manikishore and Bhargav. I'm asking you, are you closing the connection properly or not? If you are closing the connection,
No,
then you
sir.
are closing that connection. If you don't close the connections properly, that is the biggest mistake you are doing in your applications. If you do like that, then even connection closing statements, who is going to take care? The programmer has to take care of that one. He has to close the connections. He has to close the result set objects. He has to close the statement objects. All those connection closing statements are handled by the programmer explicitly. We have to write the code. If you close the connections manually by the programmer, there is a chance of memory leakages. If you don't close the connection, for example, if you are open 20 connections in your application, if you don't close every connection, that will be the biggest mistake and your application is going to hang, because memory will be filled, heap memory, in where the objects are created. Connection established means connection object creation. Is it correct or not? If you create an object, that will be created in heap memory. If you create 20 connection objects, where these objects are going to create? In the heap memory. If you don't close the connections, garbage collector will not delete them, because garbage collector thinks that these objects are active objects. Then what happens if you don't close those connections? Garbage collector thinks that these are active objects, and garbage collector don't delete those objects from heap memory, and those objects will be remain in the heap memory, and that may lead to hang your application in future. Maybe heap memory is 1 GB. Your application is continuously running from 1 or 2 days, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, like that. So many connection objects are creating, but nobody is closing. You haven't written correct code. Some memory leakages are there. Means connection closes are not properly done. What happens? After 1 day, or after 2 days, or after 3 days, maybe that heap memory will be filled. If the heap memory is full, what happens? 100% JVM will be hanged, and your application is going to hang. You have to restart your server or application where your application is deployed. That computer must be restarted. If you restart it, heap memory will be clean, because heap memory is also part of RAM. RAM is nothing but temporary memory. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir, but garbage collector will remove if it is not having any references, right?
Yes.
If that object, then how it will check for that reference if it is there or not, sir?
Based on the scopes, where you are creating object based on that one, and especially normal objects are different from these connection and streams and socket connections. If you establish a connection from one program to another program, it is always active. It's always available. If you establish a connection, a database connection, it is always available, and you have to call the close method. Then only it will become unavailable. Means no reference type object, which means inactive object. That's why specifically we mentioned that when you create file input stream object, you need to close that stream. When you create a socket object from one program to another program connections, network connections, you need to close that socket. If you create a connection object, you have to close it. Otherwise, the garbage collector won't close that one, because it thinks that it is active.
Yes, sir.
So which means these are special objects. These are always active. If you don't close it, that means active. That's it. So these are the drawbacks of JDBC. Wow, it's very difficult to handle. If you think like this, wow, really this much of drawbacks are there in JDBC. You need to take care of all these things. Oh, it seems difficult. Can we provide any better way than this one? Yes, that is Hibernate. In the Hibernate, simply Hibernate means a person or a system that will take care of all these things. That's it. I'll tell you one example. Just I got some example for you. Just now I got some example. For example, before ATMs and after ATMs. You get my point? I'll tell you. Okay, go to the days where no ATMs are available. Who is going to take care of everything? You have to go to the bank.
Bank.
Yes. There you have to apply some form. Withdraw or deposit. You need to give that form to other person. That person, for example, let us say have the application, bank application access. The person has that clerk has a computer. He can access the bank application. Who is doing all these transactions now? The clerk will log in into the system. He will check the amount, and he will check your form also, withdraw form. Okay, he will check the amount. For example, it has a 50,000 amount. You have asked, you're going to withdraw 10,000, so it's sufficient. So he will withdraw. He will access permission to withdraw, and it will that withdraw form will be transferred to some cashier. Okay, there you can get the money. So all these things are happening when the no ATMs are available. Okay, if you take the example of ATM, what is happening there? The total clerk burden is transferred to ATM. For us also it becomes easy because just they are giving some plastic cards. We are just swiping it and performing withdraw options. That also becomes easy to us. And the clerk also no need to worry about all these things. Do you understand my point? That type
Yeah.
of like that, Hibernate will take care of all these things. What is that? When to load the driver, when to establish the connection, when the statement objects has to create, and when SQL commands generate, getting results, closing connections, all are taken care by Hibernate framework. Then what is the job of Java program? Simple. No, you have to know about how to use the Hibernate framework in Java. That's it. That's very easy. I'll tell you. Within 10 or 20 minutes, I'll start the one small Hibernate application. You'll get to know that. Okay. So what the Java program needs here is how to use the Hibernate framework. That's what you have to know. And second point, that's it. Simply one point. How to use the Hibernate framework. And one thing, clearly I'll tell you. This Java program has to ask the Hibernate that what he wants, what the Java program wants. For example, say Manikishore. Manikishore is going to use the Hibernate concept now. Okay. For example, we have the Hibernate framework. Just imagine that we have the Hibernate framework in your web application. You have the database and you are writing Java program. What is I asked a task to the Manikumar that, hey Manikumar, insert the employee details to the database. That is the task I have given to the Mani. So Manikumar is using a Hibernate concept to enter the database. I have just given a task called insert employee details into the database. Okay. Now, what is the job of Manikumar? Just he has to know how to use that Hibernate framework in his Java program. That's it. And what he has to ask the Hibernate? Hey Hibernate, I'm giving these employee details to you. Please insert the data in the database. That's what the Manikumar asked to the Hibernate. That's it. He doesn't know how to establish the connection. He doesn't know what do you call about writing SQL command even. He is not writing any SQL command. He is directly giving employee details to the Hibernate framework. This is the Hibernate framework. Let us say this is the Hibernate framework. Use that Hibernate framework and Java program gives the employee details to the Hibernate framework. Hibernate framework takes the employee details and insert into the database and returns the results back to the Java program. Sir, how Java program gives the employees details to Hibernate? Java program puts the employee details in one object. Let us say we have employee class, create the employee class object, store the employee details in that object and pass that object to the Hibernate framework. And ask the Hibernate framework to insert the employee details into the database. Mani, have you understand? What is the job of you? You have to know how to use the Hibernate framework in Java. That I will tell you within 5 to 10 minutes. Okay? Then what you have to ask Hibernate? Hey Hibernate, please insert the data exists in the employee object. I am giving the employee object to you. Hibernate, I am giving the employee object to you. That employee object has the data. Please take the data and generate the SQL command yourself. I don't want that one. Create the statement object, create the connection object. I'm what do you call, far away from that concept. I don't know what is that concept. Please do that for myself. Okay, and insert the data. That's what you have to ask. That's it. Simply you have to ask, please take this object and insert it. That's it. Hibernate automatically understand what you have asked and automatically establish the connection, automatically create the statement object, automatically generate the insert command automatically. That's the beauty of Hibernate. And automatically creates
Depending on the database.
depending on the database also. Even for MySQL, it will generate a separate command. For Oracle, it will generate a separate command. For MySQL server, it will generate separate command. If it has a different command, if it is a different command, then otherwise same command. Get the results from database and send those results to the Java program as objects again. So what the Java program needs, give the data in objects, take the data as objects. That's it.
Yeah.
As a Java program, as a Java programmers, that's very easy to us, isn't it? Understanding objects, sending objects, receiving objects, it's very easy. So now do you understand what is the main, what do you call, advantage of Hibernate? How beautifully they are designed this concept. You know one thing? In the Hibernate, they are using JDBC itself again. That's why I'm telling you, JDBC is not an outdated concept, but I'm using that JDBC differently. That Hibernate itself uses a JDBC concept to interact with the database. But Hibernate has the ability that when it should be close the connections, how many connection objects has to create, and what type of command it has to be generated, everything is already written in Hibernate. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. Anybody? Suvachala? Do everybody understand the concept?
Yes, sir.
100%. Good. So, if you understand the concept, I would like to ask you another question. What is a framework?
Creative kind of classes.
That's it. A framework is nothing but set of predefined classes or packages. That's it. You may understand now what is Hibernate framework. Nothing. Simply set of predefined classes or packages. Those classes has the predefined code to interact with database, to establish the connections, to create statement objects, to generate commands based on the databases, to which database the connection has to establish, how to get the results, how to close the connections. All this code is already inbuilt written in Hibernate framework, which means the those set of predefined classes and packages. Then what we are doing in our Java program? Simple. I'm using those classes. Nothing I'm doing. I'm just using those classes which are already developed inbuilt. That is called Hibernate framework here. You understand? It's very simple concept. Already we have predefined set of classes that is called Hibernate framework. Set of predefined classes has the predefined code. That code dynamically act dynamically. It can establish the connection dynamically. It can close the connection dynamically. It can generate the commands dynamically based on the databases. If you ask to insert, automatically that will insert into the database. If the Java program, this Java program asks to update, this Hibernate will update the database data in the database. If you ask to delete, Hibernate will delete. How we delete? Already that code is written in the Hibernate framework. Where? In the classes and packages. Then what I have to do in Java program? Simply use those classes. That's it. Any doubts?
No, sir.
Good. See, the Hibernate to take care of What Hibernate to take care of? Hibernate will take care of actually. Database connection establishment, takes the objects from the Java program, prepares the SQL commands based on database, sends the commands to the database, get the results and put them in objects and sends those objects to the program. Get the results from database, put those results in object and send these objects to the program. Performs the connection closings whenever necessary. All this is done by Hibernate framework. Any doubts? No doubts. Good. Yes. I already told you that Hibernate is also called as ORM tool, Object Relational Mapping tool. I'll tell you that what is ORM tool, but before that, I would like to clearly explain how this Hibernate actually works more clearly. Okay. See, we know that we are all Java developers. You may know about JVM. Okay. In the JVM, we'll have a heap memory. I didn't design that heap memory actually. In that heap memory, we have an object called EMP. Okay. This EMP object contains details like 101, Madhu, 20,000 and software engineer designation. So now tell me, okay, let us say like this. Okay, Suvarchala. Suvarchala, you have written Java program. Okay. In that Java program, you have taken a class called EMP. That EMP class has 4 instance fields, ENO, ename, salary, sick. And you have created object for EMP class. And in that object, you have stored the values 101, Madhu, 20,000, senior software engineer. Now tell me what that object contains. One employee details. 101, Madhu, 20,000, software engineer. That data is called as actually object state. Is it an object state or not? Yes, it is an object state. Now, I told you that, hey Suvarchala, you have that object has data. So please store the data exists in the EMP object in the EMP table exists in the database. So do you understand the task? I told you that store the object state in that EMP table of database. Let us say it is MySQL database. And I told you that use the Hibernate framework again. What you have to do, I'll tell you clearly now. In the Hibernate, you have to remember 3 points mainly, okay? 3 points. Usage of Hibernate means in our Java program, if you want to use Hibernate, just you have to use the Hibernate API. Okay? Using Hibernate API means using Hibernate concept, Hibernate framework in our program. That is Hibernate API. Or we can say simply Hibernate. Hibernate API, you may heard about this word called API. API nothing but collection of classes, collection of packages. Hibernate API means predefined set of packages. What a package contains? Collection of classes, interfaces, enums, annotations, we know that. This is Hibernate API, or we can say Hibernate framework. Just now I told you that Hibernate framework is nothing but set of predefined classes. Those classes contains the code to interact with the database, establishing connections. Interact with database means here loading the driver, establishing the connections, creating statement objects, getting the results, closing the connections, everything. The total code is written in the Hibernate API or Hibernate framework. Okay, that's the first point you need to remember. Second point, What is this HPM file? See this second oval, emp.hpm.xml file. In the Hibernate, HBM file and configuration file, you need to take care. You need to take care of those two things. By default, Hibernate API I can include by using jar files. Hibernate API means set of jar files, that's it. I can include them. In those jar files, we have packages, classes, etc. But what is this HBM file? For example, do you understand? For example, Suvarchala given this EMP object to the Hibernate. Suvarchala has given this EMP object to the Hibernate API, or we can say Hibernate framework. What this Hibernate framework will do now? How this Hibernate API knows to which database it has to connect? It has to connect. How this Hibernate knows whether it has to insert or delete or update, etc. Okay, that is easy. Actually, we asked the Hibernate about to insert or update. Okay, that's okay. But how the Hibernate knows to which database it has to connect, how the Hibernate knows thus to in which table the data has to store. You understand? To the Hibernate, I need to tell that, hey Hibernate, if I give the employee object, please store that in employee table. If I give the student object, please store in the student table. Like that, I need to tell the Hibernate before you start the application, before you run the application. Do you understand what I'm saying? Hibernate has to know which object has to store in which table. Which object details has to store in which table, the Hibernate has to know. How it knows? That we have to tell through a file. That file is called HBM file, Hibernate Mapping file, M for mapping. HB means Hibernate, M means mapping, Hibernate mapping file. Okay, what this mapping file contains? Simply, it contains which object has to store which table. Okay, for example, here we have 101, where the ENO value has to store, means 101 value, where it has to store, in which column it has to store. In the HBM file, I'll mention which object has to store in which table. Okay, and in that object we have many values. Which value has to store in which column? 101 has to store in ENO column. Madhu has to store in ename column. SAL value 20,000 has to store in SAL. DESIG value software engineering has to store in DESIG column. That also I'll mention here in the mapping file. Okay. So if Hibernate opens this file, what Hibernate understands? Oh, if EMP object comes, I need to store it in EMP object of the database. And if that object contains data, ENO value has to store in ENO column, that I have mentioned here in the hpn.xml file. Like that, ename value Madhu has to store in ename column. SAL value 20,000 has to store in SAL column. DESIG instance variable value software engineering has to store in DESIG column. Like that, I'll clearly mention in this file. Good. To Hibernate, you are telling you are simply mapping employee object to the employee table through a mapping file. Understand what is the point? In Hibernate framework, whenever you use Hibernate framework, you need to create one mapping file, that is called HBM file. Okay, in that mapping file you are mapping Java object to the database object. Database object means here database table. Got it? Next point. Do you understand or not? I'm repeating, I think. If you don't,
Yes,
no. Are you
sir.
understand? Yeah, tell me.
Yeah.
Is it clear?
Yes, sir. It is clear.
It's clear. Good.
Yes, sir, it understanding, sir.
Good. Okay. Thank you. Now, last one. What about this configuration file? Hibernate. Oh, spelling is wrong actually. Okay, I'll change it. Hibernate cfg.xml file. Hibernate config file. What is that config file? What it contains? I'll also tell the Hibernate to which database you have to connect. Hibernate has to connect. This Hibernate configuration file contains information like user ID, password, driver, to which database it has to connect. Is it MySQL or Oracle? How many connection objects will be you have to create? Actually, this Hibernate will create set of objects at a time, 5 or 10 or like that. If you mention the pool size here in the configuration file, if the pool size is 10, which means the Hibernate will create 10 connection objects, and by using those objects only it can interact with database. If you give the pool size 1, then Hibernate framework will create only one connection object. Only that one object will be used by the Hibernate framework. Like that, you need to provide simply database information here in the configuration file. Now tell me, to the Hibernate API, what you are giving? Two files you are giving. One is mapping file, second one is configuration file. Mapping file contains the information about mapping Java object to the database object, a database table. You know that? Sometimes in databases, table is also called as relation. Even though it doesn't give correct meaning. If code, you may heard about that person. If code told that set of tuples is equal to relation, means set of tuple means set of rows. One row is called as tuple. Set of tuples means set of rows. Set of rows are called as relation, which means set of rows and what is the meaning of set of rows? Table. So if code said that table is also called as relation. Now see, in the mapping file, what I am mapping? I am mapping object with relation, or we can say table. That's why this Hibernate is called as object relational mapping tool. Do you understand? Object relation means tables, mapping tool. Object relation mapping tool. By this mapping only, this Hibernate is able to store this object in this table. Do you understand why it is called as ORM tool? Object relational mapping tool. Here in the Hibernate, we are mapping the Java object with the relation exists in the database. Relation means table exists in the database. That's why it is called as object relational mapping tool. And extra, we are providing one configuration file. Why we are providing that configuration file? To the Hibernate, we are telling that through this file, I am telling that, hey Hibernate, connect to this particular database. Driver is type 4 driver, user ID is system, password is manager, URL is this one. Like that, some details I'll give to the Hibernate through this file configuration file. Simply see here I have written clearly, I've given some points. If you read those points, you can get to know clearly what is the use of emp.hbm.xml file, hibernate.cfg.xml file, and etc. See this configuration file. In this file, mainly database information will be placed like user ID, password, driver, dialect, connection. Dialect means to which database we need to connect. Dialect means To which database? Is it Oracle database, or is it MySQL database? Is it SQL Server database? To which database we need to connect? That's what is called. By using direct, we can tell that to the Hibernate. Next, connection pooling size, etc. Here the configuration file. Come to hpm.xml file. In this file, we'll clearly mention that which class or object is mapped with which table, and which field of an object is mapped with which column of a table, and which one is the primary key. Such type of information I'll provide in the mapping file. This is the Hibernate concept. That's it. If you understand this concept, directly we can go to the example. There you can find, oh, this much easy is Hibernate. You can think like that. Okay. So can I develop our first application?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this why it is called ORM tool, object relational mapping. That's why it is called as ORM tool. See this here, I have also given proof. The bottom of this page, you can see that it is called as relation. I have copied it from Wikipedia. Relation, comma, tuple, and attribute represented as table. Relation means table, tuple means row, attribute means column, respectively. EF code. Okay, thank you. These are the examples actually I have given, but no need of these examples. To know more clearly about this one, I have given some Java code. This is the code which is using JDBC, and this is the code here I'm using only, what you can say, Hibernate. In the Hibernate, I'm just writing a simple line, that is, see the red line statement, session.save of E. E is employee object. I'm sending this employee object to the save method. That's it. Your code is done. No need to write establishing connections, statement object creations, SQL commands creations. Everything is, you need to, you just forget everything. You need to write this statement. That's it. You can directly store this object in the database. That's that much easy. So let us create a first example. Okay. I'll send that PPT to everyone. Okay. Then
Okay,
we can continue. 1 minute. Okay. See this example. You may write the code like this. If it is a web application, let us say we have a registration page. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 text boxes. One is passport field. I move that. You have given all these details and click the submit button. When you click the submit button from the browser, it is called HTTP request. From web client, we have given HTTP request. Let us say this data is went to the register.jsp page. In the register.jsp page, we get all these details and store it in a bean called register bean. Okay. So all these details are went to the bean object. By using JSP use bean, I have got these details and store it in a bean. And after that, what I'm doing here, I'm creating the DO class object. And in the DO class, we have the do register method. I'm calling the do register method and passing this bean to that method. Here I'm using the JDBC concept. All this code we have to write manually. So when we use JDBC, okay, we have to write all this code. Even in the DAO, you may remember that in the constructor, we used to create a connection object. After that, in the register or delete or update in these methods, we create the statement objects and set some values. And after that, we call the execute methods or execute update, execute query, or something execute method like, okay. And after that, we'll get the results. All these things are done by ourselves. Got it? These are the drawbacks. Already we have discussed about these drawbacks. That's why I'm just leaving it. I'm lefting it, okay? Just leave it, leave those concepts. You can see this example. And after, if you come to the Hibernate usage, Hibernate code, A small example, just like main method. What you have to write this right here. If it is Hibernate, simple. We have a predefined class called configuration. Create the configuration object, which means we are using Hibernate. Usage of Hibernate means using some classes. That's it. Got it? Already told you that Hibernate is a framework. Framework is nothing but simple collection of packages.
Classes.
Package contains classes. Okay. You have to know how to use those classes in our program. That's it. Here configuration class, session factory class, session class, transaction class, all these classes are belongs to Hibernate framework. I'm using those classes and just I'm calling the save method. This save method, to the save method I'm passing employee object, isn't it? This save method is predefined. This save method is predefined. Exists in the session object. Okay, the same method actually takes this employee object, okay, and passes the after that internally this save method, you can imagine like that. Okay, now the save method internally creates a statement object and generates insert command, insert into emp values, like that one SQL command will be generated and that command will be sent to the database and gets the results, means like inserted successfully, and if you want you can get those results like. Okay, so simply what is the job of save method? Save method will take care of connection establishment, statement object creations, SQL commands creation, and SQL commands sending, executing. Everything will be done, it will be taken care by save method. But here which where is it, like sorry, but here I'm writing the code if you use JDBC, but here I'm just using the same method. It will internally what do you call, internally writes the this type of code, automatically generates that type of code, automatically creates this type of command, insert into register values. No need to write here. See where you are using. Are you establishing any connection object? No. Are you establishing what you call statement, creating statement object? No. Are you creating any insert command, insert into emp values like command? No. You're just creating the session object. By using that session object, you are passing this employee object to the same method. That's it. Same method passes this data to the database. But to which database? Here I will mention. To the Hibernate, I will tell you. Sorry, to the Hibernate, we will tell through this file to which database it has to connect. And if you pass the employee object, in which table the Hibernate has to store, that will that we have already told to the that we have to tell the Hibernate through this HPM file. Based on this HPM file, it will store that data in the table. But here, what I am doing in the Java program, just I am calling the same method. To that same method, I am passing this object. That same method is actually exists in the Hibernate API. So same method is nothing but Hibernate API. Configuration object, transaction object, session objects are all exist in the Hibernate API. I'm calling the same method of Hibernate API and passing this object to the same method. This same method will connect to this database based on the information which are given in the configuration file. And this Hibernate API or same method stores the employee object details in the employee table. How it identifies that those details has to be stored in the employee table? Based on the HPM file. In the HPM file, you may mention that EMP object details has to store in employee table. So Hibernate will take the support of these two files and stores those data into employee table. Do you understand what happens when you call the same method? Same method takes the object, takes the support of mapping file, and takes the support of configuration file. And based on the configuration file, it will connect to particular database. Based on the mapping file, it will directly stores in a particular table. Of these details, to Surendra, etc. These details will be stored. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. Why we need Hibernate, I have given some points. Later you can read it. Okay. So let me start the first example. At least I need to complete one example today. Then you can practice some examples, and after that tomorrow I'll try to give another class. I'll take the class. Okay, so let us start the first example. See, I have prepared already notes. That notes is very good actually. Even learner also easily can learn by reading that notes. That much clarity we have. Okay. Hibernate installation. How to install Hibernate? Simple. Hibernate installation means including jar files in your application. Hibernate is a framework. Framework is nothing but collection of packages. How these packages are available? In which form? Simply those packages are binded in a jar file, some jar files, and by using those jar files we can we have to include those jar files in our application. That's it. Usage of Hibernate is over. Sir, from where I can download these jar files? See, here I have given the path. Here also I have given one image. I'll send this tutorial, these notes to everyone. You can use these notes. I have already downloaded. Just now I have downloaded actually. I went to this website and I have downloaded the 5.2.12 version. Right click. I'm extracting it now itself before you. That's it. Yes to all. This is a zip file actually. I'm extracting it. If you open that zip file, you can find many folders. Among those many folders, you need to choose required folder. It's taking time. In Eclipse IDE, I am developing this application, okay? So let me create application first. One just normal application. File, new, Java project is enough. Just normal Java project. I'll tell you tomorrow about Maven project, okay? Today just Java project is enough. Java project, next. Give whatever name you want, your application name. That is Hibernate 1. Next, simple Java application, that's it. Don't worry about how do you call what I'm doing, okay? Very simple. Already you have practiced this type of small applications. Just normal Java application you need to create. That's it. This is our application. So you have developed a Java project. You are developing a Java project. In this Java project, you are going to use Hibernate framework. I have already told you many times, including Hibernate framework is nothing but including set of jar files in our application. Sir, how I can include those jar files? I'm clearly explained step by step. If you see these steps, if you read these steps one by one, without support of mine also you can develop the application. Okay, see these steps. Very clear actually. Those steps I'm going to follow now. I'll tell you now, and after that, after completion of this course, I'll pass these notes to everyone and follow these steps. Okay, right click. What I'm doing now, I'm adding Hibernate framework to my application, which means I'm adding set of jar files to my application. How we can add set of jar files to our application? Very simple. Give the mouse right click on our application, go to the build path, or directly we can go to the properties. Here you can see the Java build path. Here go to the tab called libraries. Here you can create your own library. That's why I'm clicking on add library. Own library, which means user library, you need to select and click on user libraries. Click on new button. Give the library name Hibernate libraries. Just you are creating a folder now. Into this folder you need to add the jar files and add this folder to our application. That's what I'm doing here, these steps. You may have what you call fear. So many people are fearing that, oh, sorry is doing many steps. How would I know that? How could I know that? I may forget that one. No, don't bother about that. I have prepared the notes for all those steps. Every step I have those notes. Okay, even there also I'm giving 1, 2, 3 like that. You can do it very easily. You can see that notes later. Okay, yes. Then select this folder and add external jars to this folder. Where I have placed those jar files in this path. Madhu sir Hibernate. Sorry. Okay. Open the folder. Here you can see lib folder. In lib you can find required folder. In this required folder we have set of jar files. Select all the jar files and click on open. All these will be added. And another thing, to which database do you want to connect? Is it Oracle or MySQL? Now I have installed MySQL software in my computer. Okay, that's why I need to use the type 4 driver which is used to interact with MySQL, which means Hibernate internally has to use the type 4 driver which is used to interact with MySQL. So along with all these Hibernate jar files, you need to add MySQL driver also. Or we can say, well, we'll do one thing. Select it and okay, just do it. Okay, finish. This one, finish. If you click on finish, you can find that in our application src and jre system library is there. Extra folder will be added if we click on okay. See this? Hibernate libs added. All those libraries are added here. Now if you want to add another jar file, right click, Java build path, add libraries. Otherwise you can go properties, as usual, libraries, another user library, new, type 4 for MySQL. To this folder add the external jar, that is this one, MySQL connector Java 5.1.18 bin, and click on OK. Finish. Okay. See, another folder is added. It contains MySQL. Now I have MySQL type 4 driver and also Hibernate libs, means Hibernate frame. Now I can directly write the program. Yes. Is there anybody has doubts?
Yes, sir. I mean, like when I'm adding like these jar files in my Eclipse, it is also asking me to put like those jar files in the Tomcat folder externally, sir. Did I do any configuration mistake, or we should put there also?
If you find any errors, you can do it like this. Directly copy it and just, for example, you have these folders. Whenever you
Yeah.
develop an application, just directly copy it. Web application. If it is
Yeah,
web
directly
application, copy it
copying.
and paste it directly. You can do it like that.
Yeah, it's asking me to do that even though I added it in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
project
Even
from Eclipse side.
we can't add like that. If it is Maven, see, Maven is a build tool actually.
Okay.
There is no need of adding any jar file.
Oh, okay.
If we use Maven, that is maybe tomorrow I'm going to teach you that one XML file will be there in that Maven, that is pom.xml file. They just in the XML in the tags you need to mention that which version do you want, what do you want. That's it. That Maven
Okay.
what does is directly it will goes to the related websites. But if you want to use the Maven, you have to what do you call your system must have net connection. Because no need to take care of all these addings. I am downloading these jar files, I am adding these jar files to our
Yeah.
application, isn't it? But if you use Maven, that Maven itself adds all these things automatically. Whatever the libraries you want, just you need to mention in the POM file that, hey, I want this one, this one, this one. Just like if your dad goes to market, if you ask for some list of what you call things, you have to give the some slip. That's it. Automatically those details will come. Who gets that?
Yeah.
That dad will can what do you call get those things for you like that. This is Maven is just like our dad. It's got it. You need to tell the list of things that our application wants. Then it
Okay.
will go to the related websites dynamically and get those jar files and include it into our applications.
Okay, sir.
So what is the doubt you have asked? Such type of doubts will not come actually. Such type of errors won't face actually. We don't
Okay.
face. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's why in real time all the people are developing Maven projects, not normal projects. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
It's just like a tool, sir. Like even other frameworks, Spring,
No, it's a build
Hibernate,
tool.
they
It is called as build tool. It is
build.
especially used to
Okay.
build the applications. That's it. Nothing else.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. That's it. Okay. Now we have added manually all the jar files to our application. So now I would like to create a POJO, normal Java program. Okay. Right click, new class. See this PPT? What I'm going to do, you can understand now. This object. Okay. This one. This one. This one. This is what I'm going to do. Okay. Understand? This is what I'm doing. I'm creating an employee object and I'll create a table in the database and then I'm going to use this Hibernate framework to interact with database. So first I'm creating employee class and after that I'll create the employee object. Okay. So I'm creating employee class first. Like you can give the package like MTS, or we can say com.org. mts.db mts, that's it, do. That is the package name. In that package I am writing a class called emp. Okay, finish. Just a normal class. In the source folder itself I am writing, and here I would like to create envo ename sal and that's it, completed. And for every property, sorry, I'm declaring every property as private property. It's not mandatory, but that is my style of writing bean. Private, private. To access the values of these instance fields, now we have to write some public methods. To set some methods, to
Getter
get
and
some methods. Okay, right click,
yeah.
source, generate getters and setters. Select all. See, I have written the code. For every property, I have generated setter methods and getter methods. And after that, if you want, you can generate even toString method also, if you want. Otherwise, it's okay. Just left it. So employee class, you have just written an employee class. And what you have to do now? You have the Hibernate framework. Yes. You have written a class. Super. Now you need to map this class to the EMP table. Okay. Existed in the database. Now I would like to
Sir,
create.
so the
Yeah, tell me.
table name and the bean name should be same, sir.
It's not mandatory. I'll tell you 1 minute.
Okay.
1 minute. I'm opening the MySQL database. So here, 1 minute, I'll tell you. Now the what do you call MySQL database is open. Here I would like to create new database. Click on databases tab and give the database name like 1. And after that, click on create button. New database will be created here. You can see in the left side. So this is our database. In this database, I have not created even table also now. Now at present, I have not created any table. Okay, just leave it. I'll tell you later. Then, so just imagine that we have a table in the database, but I haven't created. But just you think that you have created a table. Okay. So we have a table, and in the Java program we have an EMP class. Now I need to map this EMP class to that table. How? It's possible. One, by using XML file like this. You need to write one XML file, emp.hpm.xml file. We have another way also. By using annotations also, we can map an employee object to the employee table. There are two ways totally. One is we can map employee object with the table by using hpm.xml file. Second, by using annotations also I can map. In core Java, I have taught you about annotations concept. That is the use of annotations. Without writing XML file, I am trying to map this EMP object to the table. Now I am doing that. I'm not using XML file. I'll give the example by using XML file also a little bit later, after some examples. But directly I'm using annotations to map the employee object to the table. How? How we can do that? Simple. At the rate of annotation name. You need to tell that it is an entity. So you need to declare this class, or you need to annotate the entity annotation. Simply 1 minute. Entity Java extrude persistence. That's it. So I have annotated the EMP class by using an annotation called entity. What happened? Then I'm also telling that at the rate of table. Okay. Now I'm telling that this object, employee objects are mapped with employee table. Sir, here we haven't mentioned any employee table, table name. What it means? If you give the name like this, you can also do like this, okay? Which means you are mapping employee object to the table employee. If the object name, or we can say class name, and table name is same, no need to mention this one. If the table name is employee, but class name is EMP, then we have to give this name. Understand, Bhavita? By using this annotation, I am mapping this class or the objects of this class to the employee table, which means now Hibernate stores the employee class objects data in the employee tables. That's what. Otherwise, we can give like this, which means both are same. If both are same, no need to give even this one also. That's it. Which means the data exists in the employee class objects will store in the EMP table exists in the database. Next, another annotation is there. The annotation name is ID. What is it? ID. If you declare one column or if you annotate one instance variable or property as by using ID annotation, which means this is the primary key value. That's what I'm telling here. Okay, this is the primary key value. That's it. No need to bother about remaining things. Just by using 3 tags, I have mapped this object to the EMP table, and in that EMP table, ENO will be the primary key. That's what I'm telling by using this annotation ID. That's it. Mapping is done. Very easy. Not what you have to do now. Simple. Use the Hibernate and tell the Hibernate that, hey Hibernate, store the employee class objects into the database. That's what I need to do. 1 minute. But before asking the Hibernate to insert the employee object details into the table, to the Hibernate you need to tell that which database that Hibernate has to use. How we can tell the Hibernate about the database details? Simply by using Hibernate configuration file. You need to create Hibernate configuration file now. In the source folder itself, right click, new. If we have an option called file, click it. Give the file name as hibernate.cfg.xml file. Now here you need to write some XML code. In most of the cases we copy that code. I'm going to give these notes to you. Okay. Here I've given the configuration file clearly. This one. Hibernate config file. Copy that Hibernate config file. Just copy it. That's it. Copy. Paste it. I'll give that notes to you. Okay. Just do it. What I'm doing. We got any errors here? No. Everything is okay. Perfect. See, in this configuration file, all the elements, all are XML elements, isn't it? Chala XML elements, many XML tags we have, isn't it? This is one XML tag, Hibernate configuration. In that, we have a tag called session factory that is ended here. Okay, now see In the session factory tag or element, have written another tag called property tag. Can you read this property name? Driver class. I have given the driver class here. Next property name is URL. JDBC colon, MySQL colon, double forward slash, localhost forward slash, database name. What is the database name we have created just now? One. Do you know what is the username? Root. Password is nothing actually. For MySQL, I haven't created any password. So these are the details. Actually, when you write the JDBC program, to the get connection method, we pass the username, password, URL. To the class.forName method, I'll pass this driver name. Do you remember that? But here, I'm not writing all these codes in Java program. I'm directly just mentioning in the XML file in some property tags. That's it. And what is the connection pool size? 1. What is the dialect? Dialect means to which database the Hibernate is going to connect now. To MySQL database it will connect. Dialect means just a class name. Okay. If this Hibernate to the Hibernate, I'm telling you that I'm telling the Hibernate that hey Hibernate, use this dialect, which means I'm telling the Hibernate that use the MySQL database. If the Hibernate uses this class, the Hibernate can interact with MySQL only. For Oracle, we have Oracle dialect. For SQL Server, we'll have SQL Server dialect. That is different classes. If you use Oracle dialect class, which means our Hibernate is going to connect to Oracle. If you use MySQL dialect class, that means Hibernate is going to connect to the MySQL database.
But then the drivers like database connection settings tag should be changed, no, sir?
Which one?
Yeah, com.mysql. These driver names and all.
Yeah, we need to change it, no?
Yeah, I mean like both are in
yeah
dialect. Whatever we give that regarding that, we should give that.
Yeah. Regarding this, corresponding details we need to give here. If it is MySQL dialect, we need to give the MySQL details. If it is Oracle dialect, we need to give the Oracle details. That's it.
Yes.
And last one, show SQL. I'll tell you what is that. And this one, property name is HPM Hibernate Mapping file to DDL data definition language .auto. Auto means you want to create automatically. If we give create, each time creates a new table. That's it. Okay, leave it. So I'll tell you after that what is this one and this one and this one. But the main things are these 3 points, 3 properties. One is URL, username, password, driver. Second one, connection pool size. Third one, to which database do you want to connect. Based on that, you need to select the dialect. That's it. Save. Any doubt? See what I did now. I've created application, included jar files. That's it. And after that, I've written a EMP class. Map this EMP object to the table, EMP table. And also, I'm telling that this is the primary key column. That's it. Mapping is done. And also, I need to provide some configuration file. In that configuration file, I'm providing some properties. Through that properties, I'm telling the Hibernate that, hey Hibernate, you need to connect to this database with these details. User ID, password, URL, driver, that's it. I'm providing those details. Everything is set. Now you can create the employee object, give that object to the Hibernate, and tell the Hibernate to save the data. That's it. Okay, the last program I'm going to write. This is the last program. If you write this example, that's it. Okay, usage. Let us take usage.java. I want a main method also. A normal Java program with main method. Okay, here first you need to create configuration object. Even this example also I have given here in the notes. This is the first example, so I don't want to waste your time. Just copy this example fast, then it will become fast. And tomorrow I'll explain this one clearly. Paste. I'm just pasting it. But we have EMP class, not employee, isn't it? Remove this data. And after that, set ENO, set ename, and E1 dot set sal, some salary, 20,000. E1 dot set desig. Desig will be like yeah, software engineer. That's it. Now this configuration class is existed in a Hibernate framework actually. So click it. Import org.hibernate.cfg. Then session factory classes also belongs to this package. Right click. So click here, or we can say click here, and session factory org.hibernate. In the org.hibernate package we have session factory class. Next click here, import session interface. In the org.hibernate package we have this interface, and click here, import transaction. That's it. So first you have created config object, that is configuration object. I will even clearly tell you what this config object has. What I'm doing here, I'm creating configuration object which is predefined class exists in this package. So which means it is the Hibernate framework class. It is a class which is exist in the Hibernate. Okay. I'm creating that object, and in this class, in configuration class, we have a method called configure. That configure method search for Hibernate config.xml file actually. Understand? When you call the configure method, this method search for this file, XML file. Get all these details. Driver class, URL, username, password, connection pool size, dialect, show SQL, whatever the properties you have mentioned in the configuration file, all those properties are get by configure method, and store those properties and value pairs in here in the config object. So configure method returns the config object. I'm storing that config object in this variable. This config object contains all these details. Now tell me, where those details now? In this object, we have all those details. Who get those details from Hibernate config file? This method will get those details and store them in this object. Do you understand? Now, by using that object, I am creating a session factory. And after session factory, 1 minute, I will tell you. That's it. I have created config of, wait a minute, even I want to see what happens when this config object is created. Let me run this code now. I want to see the output, what happens when configure object is created. Anything is happening or not? Nothing is shown here. Good. Next, whenever I create session factory object, then what happens? I want to see that. Right click, run as Java application. Yeah, something is happening. Do you observe that? Some errors are also we got some errors. Username, root, password, something. This is a URL.
Password is nothing, no, sir.
Yeah, nothing actually. 1 minute, I'll tell you. Maybe this URL may comes. We got some error. Class not found exception. Sorry. What about employee? It is telling about some employee class. Sorry. Here in the configuration file, okay, in the configuration file, we need to give this class name also.
EMP.
EMP. In which
Yeah.
package we have com.mst.org, same package we have com.org.mts, mts dot emp, not employee. In the configuration file, among these properties, along with these properties, not among, along with these properties like URL, driver name, username, password, pool size, dialect, show SQL, etc. we have given. Along these properties, we have to give another element called mapping. That means in the configuration file, we are telling that this is the mapping file. Sir, it is not a mapping file, it is a bean. You may say that. Yes, it is a bean, but I make it as mapping file. By using these annotations, it also behaves like a mapping file, just like hpm.xml file, Hibernate mapping file. So that we have to mention here. It is mandatory. If you don't mention it, then the Hibernate doesn't know which object or which bean we are using and which bean is mapped with which table. Okay, so in the Hibernate configuration file, we need to mention the mapping file. If you don't return the mapping file, by using annotations you did the mapping, then you have to give the class name in the Hibernate configuration file. Here, got it? Yeah, now it's okay. Just run it now. Run as Java application. Again, class not found. Com dot.
No, the package name we gave different. Wrong.
Oh, mts
Or
dot
DAO we did not give.
ts.do dot. Thank you. That's package name is wrong. We have given that's run as Java. Run as Java application. Now we won't get any errors. That's it. See, whenever we got some other error now. See, many things have happened actually. Just I have created session factory object, isn't it? By using config object, what this config object contains? This config object contains all the details which we have given in the configuration file. All these details are get and stored here. And by using that config object, I am calling the build session factory. Build session factory method returns the session factory. Whenever this build session factory method is executed, automatically connection is establishing. And also one command is created. Create table command is created. See that? So many things are happening. Yeah, this one. after this. Okay, yeah, see this connection properties the Hibernate is using, user driver is using. So Hibernate is using driver, username passwords, and trying to establishing some connections. Pool size is 1. This is the dialect it is using. Okay, okay, maybe till this one, if you read carefully, connection may be established with pool size 1, and one that, which means one connection object will be created. And after that, if already have the if the database has the emp table, that will be dropped first, and after that automatically Hibernate is creating a table, create table emp eno desig ename sal float. Okay, everything's perfect, I think. You have an error. MySQL syntax error is showing actually. You have an error in your SQL syntax, check the manual. What happened? It is telling that automatically generated some create table, but it is telling that that table is not correct. Let me copy this code, directly run in the browser. Here, one SQL paste. Okay, run. Wow, executed perfectly, but why it is telling like that? This is actually automatically the what do you call generated. Then why it is telling that it is an error? Minute. Just DNO name, that's it. Leave the everything I'm deleting. Just simple table I'd like to create. Source, generate, only 2 columns, small table. Now usage, remove this line and this line. Now try to run this example. Are we getting any errors now? Now also we are getting the same errors. Maybe because of some other error, I think. I need to check. What happened? I'll do one thing. Remaining code I'll written here. Maybe let us see. Go. Okay. See this. 1. No table is created actually. Table is dropped but not created. Drop table if exists. Ename varchar 2. Primary key of ENO. Insert into EMP values. This is also correct. A table is not created. Why table is not created? I am not able to understand. MySQL syntax error. You have an error in your SQL syntax that manually that corresponds to it. Okay, leave it here. I'll do one thing. Okay, leave it everything. Let me. Yeah. Have we did anything wrong? See this code? Entity, table, persistence, persistence, persistence. All are belongs to Java Extrude persistence package. Everything is correct. Okay, I'll do one thing. I don't give chance to I'll create the table manually in the database. Okay, I'll create the table in one. Table name is EMP. 4 columns: ENO, ename, sal, desig. EMP table. ENO int 5 ename sal desig. Okay, ename means varchar, size like 30, salary is float, and designation also varchar of 30. Among all these things, ENO has to be declared as primary key. Where is that? Primary key. Okay. So I have created ENO, ename, sal, desig. I am creating EMP table with 4 columns. Let me save it. Now in the table, in the database, we have created a table. ENO, ename, sal, desig. 4 columns are there. I would like to insert ENO, ename, sal, desig values. See this here, 1 Madhu 20,000 software. Yeah, everything is perfect. Now, what happened? Set sal. Yeah, everything is perfect. Yeah. Okay, I've created employee object and stored some data, and in the configuration file I don't want to create new table. If already we have the table, just update it, that's it. UPDAT. No need to create new table. So I'm telling the Hibernate that, hey Hibernate, don't create the new table, just update it. Means if I tell you to insert it, that's it. No need to drop the whole table, create the new table every time. If you give the create option here, Hibernate, every time when you run the program, new table will be created. That is only for testing purpose we use. Actually in real time we won't use this one actually. Okay, I have given the update option. Now I'll run this one. Let us see whether it's going to run. Again, we'll face any errors. Please don't get any errors. Don't come any errors. Thanks. No errors are came actually. Okay. We'll do one thing. Go to the database, open the EMP table, and see the data. 1 Madhu 20,000 software engineer. That's it. If you want to insert different details, 2 like Sitaram 40,000 software engineer. That's it. Save, run as Java application. Go to the database, click on the EMP table, and see the details. That's it. See how much easy it is. Just creating object, storing the data, and passing this object to the save method. If you observe this one. But here you need to create config object. By using config object, create the session factory. By using session factory, create the session object. And by using session object, you can save it. What is this transaction? Why we are committing it? Why I'm closing these session objects? We'll discuss about these things in the next class. So after completion of this class, I'll send this video to everyone. Okay. Today I'm going to close this session for today because for me it is easy, but who are first time listening to this class, maybe they'll feel a little bit difficult. If I share this video to you, everybody, then you can able to know how to develop this application. I'll try to upload it in YouTube, my channel, okay? Now itself, today itself. But after converting, it will take time to convert, okay? I'm going to save it. Okay. Do you have any doubts? I'm closing this session for today.
No, sir.